Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Hungary here in Central Europe, where we had some nice snowfall earlier in the day. I hope everybody is having a great week so far, staying healthy and staying productive. This is an IELTS live class focusing on Task 2 writing, starting for a band 9. Let's go. All right. This is a members chat class. This question or task 2 was requested by one of our members. So if you're not a member, that's totally okay. You're welcome to watch. We will have an all chat class for task 1 academic diagram writing coming up in 90 minutes. You can certainly learn lots from this class, and you can become a member of our channel by clicking on the join button next to the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. If you don't see that button, send me an email and I can definitely give you some more information. My email is adrian@aehelp.com. Hi Nancy, hi Carolina, hi Moni, hi Nick Hill, hi Rashika. Nice to see our members joining in. Of course, as usual, this class is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success, and with lots of materials, join us there. For the general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. On both of our websites, we have services for writing task 1, writing task 2 corrections, feedback, as well as speaking, and of course for all other sections of the IELTS. This is our academic website here with the blue background. You can click that big red button to join the premium package. We are an official British Council IELTS test registration center for Saudi Arabia, and we have British Council agents, certified agents working for us as well. This is our general IELTS website here with the green background. You can click that big red button to join us there and improve your band scores quickly and efficiently. We are world leaders when it comes to IELTS preparation. This week we have writing today, a little bit more for our members tomorrow, and we'll have reading tomorrow as well, and then we'll have speaking later on in the week. Let's get into today's question. Okay, Moni, those are some really nice scores. Definitely writing tends to be the one that remains challenging for many students. It's just because writing is taught a little bit differently in many Western countries like the UK, Canada, US, Australia, and they expect students to learn that format of writing, Moni, so that takes a bit more practice, okay? But nonetheless, those are some fantastic scores, Moni. I mean, 7.5 listening, reading, speaking, that's outstanding. That's between a good and a very good user of English. Not ESL, not English as a second language, but as compared to a native, proficient, expert user. So very good, okay? Very nice. Okay, and thank you, Moni, for thanking your speaking partners as well. Congratulations to all of you. Okay, very good. Very, very proud of your score, Moni. That's excellent, okay? Keep practicing your writing, Moni. Writing is a very powerful skill in the world today. Okay, so, and we're going to do that right now. So let's get into today's question. Here it is. Again, this was sent by one of our members, I believe. It could have been a non-member, but I think it was a member. Anyway, here it is. Let's take a look at it. First step with writing, of course, always, is just to read the question really carefully. Pay attention to all of the little details in the question. So, IELTS Task 2 writing, you should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Some people claim that not enough of the waste from homes is recycled. They say that the only way to increase recycling is for governments to make it a legal requirement. To what extent do you think laws are needed to make people recycle more of their waste? So recognize here that this part is the question. Okay, and this specific question type is to what extent. Now, all of this here is the lead-in for the question. So this is the reason for the question. Okay, remember students when we always talk about why the question is important. So why is it important to discuss it? In this case, they give it to you. So they basically say it's important to talk about this because many people feel that not enough waste from homes is recycled. Okay. All right. So we read this question. Let's paraphrase it. Let's make sure that we clearly understand this question, and let's think of some vocabulary. So this is not your essay. Okay, it's not your essay yet. This is simply a check. Okay, it's a check to see whether or not you understand the question and to collect some vocabulary for the question. Okay, so paraphrase it using your own words. Remember, you can use synonyms, antonyms, negatives to paraphrase as well. Okay, so lots of different ways to do it. All right. So I'll give you a little bit of a head start to paraphrase, and then we will compare your paraphrasing to my paraphrasing. Okay, go ahead, start, and I'll start my own here in a minute as well. All right. So Carolina says a lot of individuals ascertain that few residues are recycled. We don't use residues in this context, Carolina, so good try. That much trash is another word that you could use for waste, or garbage. Garbage, trash, rubbish is another one. The British especially like to use the word rubbish. So here are some synonyms for the word waste, okay? Just give me 1 second here. Okay. Waste, rubbish, garbage, trash. Okay, those are all synonyms. There's actually quite a few more. If you look at a thesaurus, you will find many other ways as well. Okay, so one more time, Carolina. A lot of individuals ascertain that little rubbish is recycled from homes. People demand that governments make strict laws so people recycle more. Okay. To what extent do you believe that legal requirements are needed to force individuals to recycle more? Okay, Carolina, not bad, okay? It says certain individuals believe recycling garbage in the home is not done enough, and governments should create laws regarding this. Okay. Ois, I made a few corrections there, so it's more comprehensible. Careful. Murat Khan says some people are in the idea that not a sufficient amount of contaminants are being recycled, alleging that these responsibilities should be forced by government laws. Okay, Murat Khan, a little bit there. PP says a lot of individuals claim that not enough home garbage is reused. They say that the only way to increase the reuse is for authorities to make laws regarding this. Very good, PP. Yeah, reuse is, I think, fair enough, because in many ways, when we recycle, we reuse those materials. Absolutely. Rajveer says certain individuals feel that only a minimal amount of household garbage is recycled. They feel that only through increased regulations can people be encouraged to recycle more. Rajveer, notice the corrections in the second sentence there, okay? To what degree do you believe that laws are required to enforce recycling? By the way, viewers and students, this question, if I'm not mistaken, was actually on one of the recent IELTS exams in the last couple months. So that's why it was requested. So this is maybe a question that some of you might have actually wrote a response for if you took the IELTS in the last few months, okay? Ferdov says, some people believe that recycling in households is minimal. And in order to maximize this, governments can tackle the problem by making it obligatory. Ferdov, there's a new word form for you, obligatory. Obligatory. Okay, it's a good use of the word, obligatory. Ali says, certain individuals report that home waste recycling is insufficient. They claim that only authorities can improve this rate of practice through relevant laws. Ali, beautiful use of paraphrasing and vocabulary. I love it. Okay, very nicely done. Okay, so certain individuals argue that there is a lack of home rubbish being recycled in the public, and that the only remedy for this is to implement national regulations and fines. Okay, because laws usually come with some kind of consequence, like jail time or fine. Okay, to what degree do you believe that people's recycling and disposal habits need to be managed by government law? Okay, sure. So there's my paraphrase. It's fairly similar to what some of you wrote. We've definitely gathered some useful vocabulary, some different ways of looking at this question. That's really good. Let me just get my scribbles off the board here so you can see it a little bit more clearly. So your paraphrase is good to have you think a little bit more about this. Always go back to the original question when you're thinking about your topic and you're controlling ideas. Always go back to the original question when you're formulating your thesis statement, but definitely take a lot of motivation and visualization from your paraphrasing, okay? All right, so what is the topic here? What are we talking about? Okay, so what are we actually discussing? Okay, Ali says the topic is the waste recycling practice rate, okay, or the rate of recycling among people. I think that's a good way to identify the topic, Ali. I'd say it a little bit differently, but I think that's fine too. Ois says government laws for recycling. I don't actually think that's specifically what we're talking about. Carolina says laws for recycling. Inaya says recycling regulations. Yes, okay. So PP says waste recycling. Ferdov says to maximize recycling. Yeah, absolutely. Ferdov, I think that's a really good way to say it. So we're talking about people's recycling behaviors. We're talking about government's intervention in recycling. I think those are parts of the controlling ideas. And I think Ali and Ferdovs have most accurately identified the idea of this question, which is to maximize recycling. And I think Ferdovs, that's really what we're talking about. So what is needed to maximize recycling is the controlling idea. Okay, all right. So I think Ferdovs, you've really done a bang-up job of identifying very concisely the topic. Okay, maximizing recycling. Okay, Does everybody agree that that's really what we're talking about here? Maximizing recycling, if we want to be more specific, a little bit more specific here, in the home. Because there's also industry, right? And industrial or business recycling. That's kind of a different topic. You definitely don't want to bring that in here, right? Because recycling in industry and business would be a whole nother bag of cookies, right? Here, we're talking about maximizing recycling in the home. So for people, right? That would, this is, okay, if you miss this part, fine, but definitely keep it in mind, okay? Yeah, Inaya, that's why I added this. I think you're probably writing that while we're catching up with each other in the stream, okay? So maximizing recycling in the home, yeah, okay? All right, so controlling idea. So what's the controlling idea? What is the controlling idea? Just give it to me. I'm going to write it up. I think many of you have it now, but the requirements, especially government regulation to achieve maximizing recycling at home. All right. Okay, good. So topic, what is it? Right? First question, what does it mean to maximize recycling in the home? Give me an answer for that, okay? And this is a very good topic, everyone. I mean, this is the topic that we should all be thinking about more and more in today's world, because if we don't, then we are definitely going to be in some deep, deep water in the next 10, 20 years. And I'm sure you can all agree on that. So what does it mean to maximize recycling? So Ferdov says to reuse. Okay. Yeah, I've talked about this in previous classes. Anybody remember what the 3 R's of recycling are? Right? It's to reuse, reduce, minimize waste, okay? To reuse, reduce, and recycle waste, thereby minimizing the what? What are we minimizing? Yeah, so Rajveer says a practice to reduce, reuse, recycle phenomenon at home to minimize the amount of materials that end up in. Where does garbage go? Let's see who knows this word. So this is a little bit of a vocabulary test here. Where does garbage end up? So it's worth for everybody to go to one of these places and visit these places so that you know where your garbage goes. And as a Canadian, I have to say that I'm proud that in Canada, they take students in school, in elementary school, middle school, to this place so that students can see where garbage goes. Okay? It's not a junkyard, PP. It's not a dumping ground. It starts with an L. Okay? The correct word starts with an L, not a dumping yard. Dumps is not really the right word. Okay, that's a little bit different, Olesia. It's not drop-off points. Okay, a place where there's a big hole in the ground and you... Okay, garbage dump is, we sometimes use that word, but it's not the right word. It's called a landfill. Okay. That's maybe a new word for some people. So it's a landfill, okay? So to reuse, reduce, and recycle waste, thereby minimizing the amount of materials that end up in a landfill. Landfill, think about it simply, right? It's a piece of land that you fill with garbage. It's a landfill, okay? And just a personal opinion here, if you've never been to a landfill, definitely check one out so you see what happens with garbage, okay? All right, like I say, in Canada, they take kids on school tours of landfills so that kids can learn about the importance of recycling and how landfills are managed. Okay, so that's what it means to reuse, reduce and recycle waste, thereby minimizing the amount of materials that end up in landfills, because it's countable. Okay. All right. Why do we want to do that? So why would we want to minimize Okay, what's the missing word here? So I'm going to move a little bit faster today and going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to do some vocabulary targeting today as well. So instead of saying home, okay, what's another word that I can use instead of home? So why would we want to minimize something garbage? What's the missing word? Okay, this word is synonymous with the word home. Okay, so instead of home garbage or home rubbish, what's the missing word there? Okay, and keep trying, students. That's the way that we learn these, okay? Yeah, very good, Rajveer. Very good, PP. Nicely done, Murad Khan. Yeah, domestic. It's domestic garbage, okay? So you definitely want to show your grammatical and lexical range, okay? So domestic is a good word here. Yeah, so why would we want to do that? What's the answer? I would need a full sentence here. So why minimize it? Very good, Carolina. Good. Lots of you got that word domestic. It's a nice piece of vocabulary. Ali says to preserve natural resources, protect the environment. Yeah, and ultimately what, Ali? So to preserve resources and protect the environment, and ultimately, okay, what do you think is the missing part of my sentence here that I'm going to say? And I think this is what's really important to think about, and if we keep thinking about this more, then perhaps more of us will put an effort into recycling as well, okay? When you're in the IELTS and when you're thinking about topics and ideas, always think about what I call the big ones, okay? The big ones, because humans are egocentric, yet ironically, we often forget about one of our greatest fears and one of our greatest motivators and ambitions. Okay. Oh, it says family health. Yeah. Okay. Climate change, saving Mother Earth. Yeah. So saving Mother Earth, and by saving Mother Earth, we also save what? Okay. OS, I think, with family health is somewhat on the right track. We still have a missing piece here. So to preserve resources and protect the environment, and ultimately to okay, how about I give you a little bit more? Ensure. Yeah, very good, Ferdovs. Thank you. Okay, Ferdovs, thumbs up. Yeah, that's kind of the irony of it. Yeah, honey, exactly. Ourselves, right? So to preserve resources and protect the environment, and ultimately to ensure our way of life and survival. So, of course, surviving, you know, humans, we want to survive, but also our quality of life, right? So, you know, people have these aspirations that, oh, we'll just move to Mars. We'll just move to the moon. Yeah, good luck with that. I'd rather not. Okay, I think it's always easier to save what you have than plan to build on another planet that has no water, no trees, right? It's a little bit ambitious. I think it's probably a bit easier to save what we have here. So, yeah. And how, right? So how can we achieve this? Okay, what's the question here? So here the question is important, and I don't want to give you this question. What's the missing part here? Okay, this is the next question that you need to be able to quickly generate when you're planning your essay. Okay, welcome, Anna. Good to see you in the class. Okay, keep contributing. So we're planning right now. We're thinking about the topic. The topic is minimizing recycling in the home. That's what we're talking about. Okay, the controlling idea is whether we need government laws to do this or whether we can do it in other ways. So far, we've discussed what it means to maximize recycling and minimize the materials in landfills. We then asked why we want to do this. Well, of course, for nature and environment, but ultimately to save human life and our quality of life. And then our next question here is, how can we... So Rajveer says, how can we achieve this goal? Okay, very good, Rajveer. That's the right question. So how can we achieve this goal? What goal? How can we achieve this goal of what? This goal of what? What goal? Yeah, Ferdov says desired level of recycling, right? Which ultimately would be 100%. So how can we achieve this goal of minimizing waste and maximizing recycling in the home? Okay, so again, students, always keep in mind that your task 2 essay, it's kind of a global concept here, right? So the global concept is environment, but within the global concept of environment, the question is quite specific. It says government laws to minimize waste, maximize recycling in the home. So the kind of the genre or the field of philosophy here is nature and conservation of nature. And within that, it's a much more specific idea. Essays that score high bands, so essays that are going to get a band 7, 8, 9, are essays that really target this concept of government laws are needed or not needed for this purpose, okay? So you really have to be careful with your questions. So how can we achieve this goal of minimizing waste and maximizing recycling in the home? And this answer becomes very important for your essay, okay? So again, when you're at home and you're doing this, go through these steps so that in the real IELTS, you can just really quickly come up with these, okay? All right, so how can we achieve this, okay? How can we achieve this goal of minimizing waste and maximizing recycling in the home? What are the ways? What are the ways to do this? And you'll realize, in fact, that there are a lot of big answers that you can give to this. OS says increasing public awareness for the importance of this. Government rules, fines, yeah. So raising awareness, good. Government rules and fines, that's the question, right? Okay. All right. Changing our psychology, our behavior, yeah. That's so these are steps to do that, right? So okay, and 2 that I want to put up here is taking responsibility for ourselves and others. Okay, I think one of the very common situations in today's world is that people are scared to take responsibility for others. So when we see somebody throw a plastic bottle in the garbage or on the street, and we stop and we say, hey, excuse me, would you mind putting that in the recycling? Then that person might get really angry and say, mind your own business. What do you care about what I do? Well, I care because that plastic bottle is going to kill the fish that my children and my grandchildren might want to eat for survival, right? So that's what's kind of lacking in society. And again, because we have this kind of a hot topic today, I thought I'd express my views a little bit more here as well. But definitely we need to take responsibility, and we need to understand that we are all connected. Okay, and that part, the taking responsibility for others, is where government regulations and fines come in, right? The government takes responsibility for others, right? So the government says, hey, I don't care if you don't want me to stick my business or my nose into your business. If you're killing fish by throwing plastic bottles in the water, that's everybody's problem. Okay. All right. So here now we go to the controlling idea. And we're going to skip ahead a little bit here. So what is government regulation? Obviously, that means people are forced to recycle to avoid consequence. So why? Let's go there. So why may it be necessary for society to implement government regulation to maximize recycling in the home? Okay, so answer this question from the controlling idea. Okay, we're going to skip the what and maybe even the how for right now. We can do that while we write. But I want to focus on this question here for the controlling idea. Brainstorming. Okay. So why may it be necessary for society to implement government regulation to maximize recycling in the home? Why is that important? Sumi, welcome to our group of members. Okay, so Rajveer says because certain people are irresponsible. Okay, let's just brainstorm some ideas. Because many people are irresponsible and their actions impacts all of society negatively. Yeah, okay, sure, that's an idea. Why else? Okay, less pressure on the Earth's atmosphere. All right, Jainil says to decrease I'm going to say this a little bit differently, Jainil. Let's see if somebody comes up with it, okay? Ferdov says, being aware of the consequences of recycling, people don't care to recycle. Okay, Carolina says, some people don't care about others. Let's keep thinking. Think outside the box. Think in different ways. Ali says, laws can encourage people to follow this practice and force others who don't care. Okay. Honey says it will force people. Okay. Rajveer says to formulate common practice. Okay. But why do we need the government? Why can't we just, okay, let's take the other side, right? So let's broaden our horizons and our thinking here. So why don't we just wait for people to figure out that it's really important to recycle and just give everybody a time to kind of discover on their own that, hey, recycling is necessary and we should all be doing this. So why force my neighbor, John, to recycle? Why not just let him figure it out on his own? Okay? Okay, so why bring in the government? Why say, hey, we need the government to do this and we need the government to do it now? Okay? Okay, why? So why not do it another way? Why not just do it through public advertising and giving high fives to people who recycle? So why not just do it in a simpler way? Okay, think about it. Think outside the box as well. Coming up with the right ideas is very important. Alessia says to create the environment for recycling. Okay. To simplify the practice and monitor it. Okay, so okay, let's say to create a standard structure of expectation for recycling. Yeah, that's good. I'm still looking for some other answers here. People care more when they have to pay, when it hurts their pockets. Okay. Sure. All right. So all right. Okay, but again, so I'm still asking this question. So why not just give people a chance to learn from school, TV, social media, and come to their own realization that maximizing recycling is important. Okay, let's go back to the original question one more time. If you feel like you're losing your way a little bit, then just go back to the original question. So some people claim that not enough waste from homes is recycled. They say that the only way to increase recycling is for governments to make it a legal requirement. To what extent do you think laws are needed to make people recycle more of their waste? Okay. So Honey says because it will become a culture that everybody has to follow. Honey, it might become a culture that everybody will follow without the government, but why have the government force it? Okay, what are the big constraints? Okay, why do you think people feel that the government has to step in and enforce this rule of recycling? So I agree with your answers so far. These are not bad. So many people are irresponsible and their actions definitely impact the environment that we all live in. Why else? Okay. Yeah, for Dobbs, I think that's the first one here is that they're irresponsible. Okay. Here, let me just take you out of context, okay? So let's take you into another context. So recently, as all of you know, governments forced laws onto people to wear masks and to do social distancing, and they created lockdowns. Why did they do that? Why did they create laws and punishments to do that? Why didn't they let society figure out on their own? And why didn't they just do it through advertising on the internet and social media? They did that as well, obviously, but why did they actually bring laws and fines and the police into the picture for lockdowns? Okay, why did they do that? Okay, so let me kind of bring you into this because the recycling question is very similar to the COVID situation in this case. Okay, let's see if anybody figures this out. Okay, I'm really pushing your critical creative thinking here, all right? Because when you do that, you get high band scores. Even if you make some more mistakes in your grammar or your language, you can still get a good high score if you have good answers, okay? So Arun says to ensure everyone does it. Yeah, okay. So to put pressure on people to do it, and what else? Okay, so to make sure that everybody's doing it, yeah. Economic reasons, Ferdov says, because the medical system's under pressure. There's one component that I think many of you are missing here, and it's time, okay? Time is our greatest asset. Always think about your 4 dimensions, your dimension of time, okay? So so it needs to be done fast, okay? That's the reason why the government brought those laws down so hard on society during COVID, and that's why people feel it needs to be done with recycling as well, because we're running out of time. We've been waiting for humanity for the last 100 years to start recycling without harsh laws and punishments, and it looks like it's not working. It looks like going into the next 50 to 100 years, the only way we can save our planet and humanity is to force people, right? Would you agree with me on that? Would you agree that we're running out of time to go with the easy path? It's just kind of like parenting. So when you tell your child 100 times, not to do a certain activity through 4 or 5 years nicely and they still don't learn, you have to come up with stricter punishment because you want to do well and save their lives, right? So it's the time component. And I think that's where this question is really coming from with government laws are needed, right? Okay. Okay, so again, to think about that point, I had to think outside the box. So I had to think about this question, okay? The original question here for the controlling idea was, why may it be necessary for society to implement government regulations to maximize recycling in the home, okay? All right, so I think time is definitely one of the key points that you should think of to get that nice high band score. All right, so let's get to the thesis statement here, everyone, before we run out of time in the class. See, time. Now, look at the original question. Think about time as one of the answers to this, and pick the other answer that you think would be really good, okay? So 2 points. Okay, 2 points. To what degree do you believe, okay, let me go to the original question. To what extent do you think laws are needed to make people recycle more of their waste? Here your thesis should start something like this, okay? We're going to go with the positive side, so I'm going to start with this. Okay, so I strongly believe that government regulations are required to force people to increase their recycling habits at home because, okay, point 1 and point 2. Okay, point 1 is going to be something, and then point 2 can be time because that's obviously a very important one. So finishing on that very important point 2. Now think about another reason. So time is obviously one of those reasons. We listed a few other reasons as well. So give me your 2 points. Each of these points will obviously become your body paragraphs, okay? So body 2, body 1. All right. Give me your thesis statements. So let's have these before class end. Here we go. And then I'll finish mine as well, okay? So I strongly believe that government regulations are required to force people to increase their recycling habits at home because of point 1 and because of point 2. Okay? So give me these 2 points. Okay? So Ferdov says, I totally agree that governments should regulate recycling in households as humanity has not enough time and some people don't care for recycling. Okay? All right, not bad. Ferdovs, don't use contractions and maybe reverse your 2 points. Okay? So first one, Ferdovs, is some people do not regard recycling as important or do not care for recycling. Okay, so for Dobbs, I would write, I totally agree that governments should regulate recycling in households as certain people do not care for recycling and humanity is running out of time, period. Okay, I think that would be very good. Okay, that would be a very good thesis statement. I think your examiner would be very happy to read that thesis statement and would be looking forward to your body paragraphs. Okay. Carolina says, because people are more likely to recycle when they have to pay fines and society is running out of time to learn slowly. Beautiful, Carolina. Very nice. Okay. So very good. Those are 2 very strong points. Okay. I like it. Okay. Oa says, I support that governments should create extra rules to enforce people to recycle, whether they're homes or businesses, because they benefit individuals and environment. OS, that's off. That's off. First of all, don't bring businesses into this. We're not talking about industrial recycling here. So careful. That's going off topic. And benefiting individuals and environment. Yeah, it's true, but we can do that in other ways, not just through government fines. So why are government fines necessary, right? Okay, so OS, that's not specific enough to the question. Okay. Nick Hill says, I strongly believe that the necessity of enforcing government regulations to increase domestic recycling habits is important because of time and responsibility. Yeah, you can simplify it beautifully like that, because of responsibility and time. Okay, so you can really simplify. Again, it's 250 words, so being concise is good. Okay, so I strongly believe that government regulations are required to force people to increase their domestic recycling habits because of irresponsibility and time. How's that for being concise? Okay. All right. Okay, so always working on that. Okay, everybody sees that? So short, sweet, but definitely to the point. So irresponsibility, body paragraph 1, the need for these fines and regulations and consequences to force people to be responsible. Body paragraph 2, we don't have time for people to wake up to maximizing their recycling. We're running out of time and the world is in trouble. Okay, so governments have to step in. All right, so here's my thesis. I strongly believe that government regulations are required to force people to increase their domestic recycling habits because of irresponsibility and time. Now, that's kind of a cliffhanger, right? The reader's going, okay, what are you going to tell me about this now? All right, so that's your thesis. Now, of course, before the thesis, you need your hook and your background, and that I'm going to leave you for homework, okay? So introduction, hook. Okay, have this ready for tomorrow. Background. Okay, 1 sentence each is enough. And then, of course, the thesis, and that's your introductory paragraph. Okay, and then you're on path to Band 9 essay. All right, so 1 sentence each, that's fine. Everybody's got it? Yeah? Okay. All right. Again, you don't have to give a lot of detail in your thesis points because that's what your topic sentences are for. That's what your body paragraphs are for. So make your thesis concise, okay? Always work to make your thesis clear and concise, all right? Okay, everyone, that's it for today's task 2 class, but don't go too far because we will be doing task 1 here very, very shortly, okay? Oh, just one more point before I wrap this up. When you write your thesis, read the original question and read your thesis, and then make sure there's clarity, okay? So here's the original question. Some people claim that not enough of the waste from homes is recycled. They say that the only way to increase recycling is for governments to make it a legal requirement. To what extent do you think laws are needed to make people recycle more of their waste? Okay. I strongly believe that government regulations are required to force people to increase their domestic recycling habits because of irresponsibility and time. Does my thesis accurately and specifically answer that question? Absolutely. Increase domestic recycling. Why? Because of A and B. Okay? It's there. It looks simple. It is. It's elegant, but you have to practice doing this. It's not easy. Okay? So practice it. All right. Great thesis statements make great essays. Great essays get band 9 scores. All right, everyone. So again, check out aehelp.com for academic IELTS, gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. Stay tuned. Coming up in 40 minutes, I will be back with a task 1, which was requested by Kyber. I believe this was also from a previous exam. So it's going to be a diagram lesson for the academic IELTS, and it'll be fun writing that process essay with you. You are very welcome, honey. Janil, Rajveer, Nikhil, Carolina, Rashika. Welcome to our new members that joined this class. Great interaction. Okay. There we go. Arun, you could do that, but you'd be fighting an uphill battle if you were on the opposite side. Okay. All right. And I don't recommend doing that, Arun. Okay, so it's possible, but I don't recommend it. Okay, so see you soon, everyone. I'm Adrian. For now, I'm signing out from Budapest. Bye.